Rustic Roots Sanctuary next on City Corner. Hi, I'm Sarah Thompson, and welcome to City Corner. Today, we're going to learn about Rustic Roots Sanctuary in Spanish Lake, Missouri. I'm joined by the founder, Janett Lewis. Welcome, Janett. Thank you so much for joining me for City Corner. I was saying to you that I came across your story, and it was just intriguing to me and really fascinating to me, especially with what we've all been through with this past year during the pandemic. And so I kind of want to just dive right in. I think what's so interesting is your story involves so many things that are really pertinent right now, from self-care to connecting with nature to food insecurity, food equity, to sustainable farming. There's so many things that come up on a bigger level than also on a personal level. And it seems like it's all happening right there in your space. So before we get into your story and how you even got here to the St. Louis area, how you arrived here to St. Louis, we're looking at this photo behind you. Tell me and tell everyone at home who's listening, what is Rustic Roots Sanctuary?
So, Rustic Roots Sanctuary is a nonprofit farm in Spanish Lake. And it started with this plot of land pretty much behind me, which was a nuisance property 3 years ago. And it was vandalized. There was all kinds of crazy madness going on. And it's right next door to my personal residence. So, we decided to purchase the property out of probate. We had, I think, 90 days to clear the land. And from there, we just decided to put in a community garden because one of the major chains basically closed up, shuttered, and left the neighborhood, leaving the area a designated food desert. So, one of the reasons we started this is so that we could create some food security for our community. So, we had a party at the Twillman house, invited everyone in, and said, "What would you guys like to grow?" And it was just a great collaboration. It got the community excited. And then we installed this garden with the help of Gateway Greening. And the garden is called Grow Spanish Lake, Grow Relationships and Opportunities Within Spanish Lake. So that's kind of the garden's mission. And from there, it just kind of kept expanding backwards. We have a total of 7.64 acres, and now we've got 21 chickens, 6 goats. It's amazing, but it's great. It's a farm and it's also a sanctuary. So we love it.
Well, what's like a average day for you? Like, I know when I was asking for your availability, in my mind, I'm thinking she's got a lot of work to do. Tell me how does the day go for you? Or I mean, how does it work there? You get up in the morning and I mean, are you headed straight over to take care? Do you have a team? How does it all work there in that space in those 7 acres?
Yeah, we are working up to a team. Right now, it's pretty much just me and my partner running it. So we're here daily, and it just goes, morning chores with the animals. There's the chickens, the goats. Everybody has to be fed. We have 3 barn cats. One of them just had 5 kittens, and this morning I go out and discover there's another kitten in the driveway. So now we have 6 kittens in the barn. And it's just like it's starting to remind me of like a slight animal problem going on around here, but we love it. And the goats produce fabulous milk. They double as lawnmowers, and the chicken eggs are amazing. We have Easter eggers, so they lay blue, green, brown eggs, and the children just love them. So we also have a bunny, and he's very important fertilizer for the community garden. So
Oh, right.
everything, yeah, everybody has to work, even the goats and the chickens, they all play their part. And we actually have 4 beehives too.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. I saw the photo of that. So everything. So I mean, this is a working farm. I mean, the public is invited to come out. How do you facilitate the public and if they want to come and visit? I know you offer a variety of programs, but can you just come or do you have to make reservation or how does it work if you're intrigued and want to stop by?
Well, if you're intrigued and want to stop by, just send me a message. You can get me through Facebook or just pick up the phone and give us a call or a text and let me know a day and time that works. And we'll pretty much set aside a couple hours for a farm tour. everyone that comes through spends at least 2 hours here. So there are no short visits at the sanctuary. People come and they love it. They want to meander. And we're just excited to be able to share the space with people. And especially during COVID, it was crazy because when everything went into lockdown, I was like, hey, we've got 7 acres. So come out here, stand 12, 24 feet away from me. We'll all mask up and you can have this fabulous outdoor nature adventure. And so families were coming with their 8 children and just exploring the land. And it was just a great way. We gave over 300 farm tours last year.
Wow,
It was
that's
busy.
I want you to describe because I have not been there yet, and I want to come as soon as we're done with this. I'm gonna be texting you to set something up. But I have explored the area around there, from Fort Bell Fountain, doing that trail around there, to Columbia Bottom Conservation Area, and I think even for me, I was telling you during the pandemic, I did a lot more hiking outdoors and being outdoors. It's a really special area up there. It feels undiscovered, it feels historic, it feels it's a natural sort of, and I mean this with geographically in nature, a real gem up there. I mean, describe the property, like what just that sense is when you're there.
Well, the property, the whole feeling of Spanish Lake is kind of super country. Like that's what all the city folks say. They come out here and they're like, where are we?" I mean, my neighbor comes rolling up on her horse and people are just like blown away that this is so close to the city.
Mhm.
All the neighbors on my street have between 3 and 5 acres, and many of them have horses. We have bird owners. We're the only ones that have like a little bit of everything as far as the animals go, but it definitely feels like a rural setting, even though it's so close to the city. Columbia Bottom and Fort Bell Fountain are absolutely beautiful. Like I love going out into nature. And the reason I created this space is because one, I love being in nature. Two, I believe in sustainability. And three, I want more people to connect because I feel like when you connect and get grounded in nature, everything works better. And we have to remember, like, we're a part of this
Mhm.
world. We're not separate from it. So that's one of the goals I have here, is just helping people remember that.
No, and I want to get in, I mean, those are all great points and very true. And I want to get into that. I was reading your bio, and it's a really interesting story, from Atlanta to like overseas. Um, Really interesting. I'm sure that first part of your life could be a book in and of itself. And then you end up in St. Louis. So talk about where we're finding you in your journey.
This was so basically 20, 20, 30 years ago. I don't know. Time is starting to slip in the weirdest way, but I had this vision of creating a woman's wellness retreat. And basically, I wanted to combine organic whole foods with meditation, yoga, and different natural therapies. So I've always been into holistic healing and herbal medicines. I kind of believe the Native American spirituality vein that says there's a cure for all diseases in the form of a plant growing on this planet if we can just find it and unlock it. So it was strange because I came here as a real estate investor. Okay, so I forget about the dream I had like 20, 30 years ago. I totally forgot about it. It basically went into, how am I going to pay for this?
Right.
So I immediately went into real estate and I was selling houses in San Diego, and I did pretty well out there. So I started taking all of my commissions from my real estate sales, and I thought, where can I invest in property and start cash flowing? So it was completely like an investment strategy for me when I first got here. I bought 7 homes in Spanish Lake. I decided to come here, fix them up, and rent them out. And after putting in a couple toilets, I was like, I'm done with this.
Right. Right.
I can't do this anymore. And it was just the strangest thing. Then this property came up next door, and I started realizing that I had the perfect land to do my dream, to build my dream. And in the beginning, there were a few naysayers that were like, you're crazy. So I stopped talking about it and I just kept working on it and
Mhm.
working on it and working on it. And then it was like, once we opened and decided to start having events, the community was like, yes. I mean, people are so excited and grateful to be in this space, and grateful that we're creating this space, that it gives me the energy to keep going. And I know I'm on the right path. You know, once you're on your path, and you get the energy from giving and getting from the community and those people that you're serving, it makes everything easier.
No, and I think no, and that's great to hear. And I think that's what sort of resonates right now, which is this is something that's been important to you, and is something that you um, were either actively striving for or at some point knew would happen. But I think especially right now, people paying attention because the pandemic, and just realizing that we are connected to nature, we are connected to the past, but then in such a strong way, obviously from the past year. And so here you are. San Diego's loss is our gain, right? So you're here in St. Louis. So I mean, how is this? So you're just day to day. You've got there. Describe. You've got the garden. You've got the sanctuary. You're doing yoga. You have summer camps. I mean, there's a lot going on every day there.
Yeah.
So I mean, and we were even talking off camera before the recording. You're selling eggs. Talk about some of even the products that you have going on too. You're selling eggs, and what else?
Well, it's aside from the eggs and like goat milk, things that can come regularly, it's all seasonal. So in a few
Okay.
weeks or to a month, we'll have elderflowers, and I'll make elderflower champagne, which is so delicious. And then when it turns into berries, we do elderberry tinctures, we do lemon balm tinctures. So there's all different kinds of medicine. And then there's just the whole garden. You can get oregano, thyme, sage, lavender, like everything. All the herbs are starting to grow in right now. And we've got kind of a combination of perennials and then the things that we plant every year. So we'll have tons of tomatoes and peppers and okra, and all that will come between July and August. So that's when the big bounties of food come in. Last year, we were able to distribute 2,500 pounds into the community. So that was like our little garden. We've totally doubled that space now, and we're just hoping to create a lot more food, do a farmer's market this summer, and then keep going with the events, because I believe one of the coolest things about having a space like this is inviting the community in and just celebrating it.
Mhm.
So, and then I also feel like, with COVID, we realize there's a lot of health disparities, and if we can help people understand the importance of nutrition and how we're deciding every time we take a piece of food into our mouths, how we're going to live down the road, I think that's something that's really important too.
Absolutely, absolutely, and absolutely. And speaking of events, I wanted, when we come back from break, talk about this restorative nature immersion women's retreat that's coming up in May. But we're going to take a quick break. Before we go, we're putting the information there for you on the screen. It's Rustic Roots Sanctuary up in Spanish Lake. The address is there and the phone number is there, or you can visit and learn all about operating hours, how to visit, how to get involved at rusticrootssanctuary.org. But we're going to take a quick break, but we're going to have more with Janett Lewis, the founder of Rustic Roots Sanctuary, when we return. Stay with us.
Operation Wonder Park is a go!
There's nothing more powerful than imagination. But don't just imagine. Use STEM to change the world.
Who's with me?
Oh, it's gonna hurt tomorrow.
If she can STEM, so can you. Find out more at She Can STEM.
It takes less than 1 minute to find out if you may have prediabetes, and you can do it here. So what are you waiting for? Just go to the site.
Hi, I'm Sarah Thompson, and welcome back to City Corner. I'm joined by Janett Lewis, founder and executive director of Rustic Roots Sanctuary in Spanish Lake, Missouri. Janett, thank you so much again for joining me. I want to, yeah, I want to pick back up and talk about this upcoming event that you have. Yoga is something that is also happening. Yoga is big on your grounds. First, tell me about what you are offering in terms of yoga on a weekly basis. Is it? Tell me a bit more about that.
Yes, so right now we have every Sunday, weather allowing, of course, we're going to be having garden yoga. So it'll be outdoors and it is restorative yoga. Our little yoga instructor's name is Monique Kirksey, and she is the citrine goddess. And she is very good. I mean, her story and her journey's been so great, but she's very much a healer. And just having her work her magic, we get a little fire going in the middle, burn some sage, clean the energy out. It's really good. Last year we kind of did a little fresh from the garden sample every time we had yoga, so all the ladies would sit and eat afterwards, and it was just amazing. Like, it became a whole day. But this year we're doing it every Sunday starting Mother's Day, unless it rains.
Unless it rains, and then to go through. And then I was reading about the Restorative Nature Immersion Women's Retreat, and just even the description of it. I was like, sign me up. Let's talk a bit more about this. Tell me how this is going to work and what it is.
Okay, so this is going to be the first one that we're doing, the first event we're having like this, but it's going to be very special because it's an overnight camp out. So the way we're going to do it is basically the ladies are going to bring their gear, a cup, and their own dishes. So they're going to pack in and pack out. We've got about a quarter acre in the back that's going to be all cleared out, and we're going to have everybody come in. We're going to do an evening moonlight yoga session. There'll be Thai massage, which is done kind of on the floor on a mat. So it'll be done on the ground. We're going to do like a ceremony that's kind of about bringing in and manifesting what you're creating in this world. And I love circles with women because I feel like we can all come in, support each other, hold space for each other's visions, and kind of help each other create the life that we want. So it's very much a woman's empowerment thing for me. I want these women to go out of here, go, I know what I want to do, and I'm going to go get it now. So I feel like once you get in nature, kind of release all your stress and tension, get grounded, can think clearly, you can make these decisions to really bring in whatever your heart's desiring. And that's the mission.
It's so important. I mean, I think where we're at, we've talked, self-care, you hear that a lot now, but I remember years back, I mean, people really weren't talking about it in the way that they do now. It's sort of like this idea that, your survival is relies on your ability to also take care of yourself and be cognizant of not obviously what your output is for others, but what you're giving to yourself. And so I think it's so important to create ways and opportunities for that to happen, because we don't necessarily know how to do that. What would you tell people when, I know yoga, when you bring up yoga sometimes, or not you, but when one brings up yoga, if people haven't done it, they think it's maybe not for them, or it's like they're uncertain about it. How do you make this experience open to everyone? What would you say to someone listening to this to say, come on out? Is it, hey, if you're stressed, or if they're worried about the physicality of it, what do you sort of say to make it as inviting as possible?
Well, I think that where yoga is concerned, like the most important thing is you stretch to whatever your body is capable of doing. Like it's not a sport, you're not out there like powerlifting. You're kind of stretching and breathing into the stretch. Like the objective is to open the body, increase flexibility, increase strength, engage your core. And you can do that no matter what level of fitness you're at. You don't want to, it's not one of those things where you're going to be sore for the next week unless you overdo it. So one of my first yoga instructors 20, 30 years ago used to always tell me the most important thing is you can't compete with anyone, not even yourself.
Mm.
So don't push it. Like when you're in a stretch, if things start to shake and vibrate, that's not good. Back out, just close the stretch up a little bit and breathe into it until you feel your body able to go further. So
Mhm.
everybody does it at their own level.
Mhm, mhm. What's it like in your, we were talking about where you are at this part of your journey in your life and sort of being up there at the sanctuary and on the 7 acres and having people come. I mean, what is it that you really want to share with people about connecting with nature and how that overlaps with holistic healing and self-care? And what is it that you really want people to know that they just may not know when they're thinking about being out in nature?
Well, I personally, and this is just my personal belief, like I feel like nature is the greatest healer.
Mhm.
If you're stressed out and you can get in nature, it will clear your mind. And I experienced this when I lived in San Diego. I can remember always going to Sunset Cliffs. Like when the world was caving in on me, I would go to the cliffs, I would listen to the ocean waves come in and out. And after a few minutes of that, it's just like, okay, who has problems? Not me.
Mhm.
Let me go back out there and get into it. So I feel like being able to break the patterns that we get in when we're going through the dailies of life, where it's like stress, 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 run, 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 got to get things done, 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 done. I feel like if you can take a moment to breathe, get centered, and just relax into whatever you're doing, number one, your blood pressure is probably going to go down.
Mhm.
Number two, you're just going to feel better. And I feel like everything in your life will work more effectively and efficiently. I think that sometimes we get so swept away by the things that happen moment to moment that we start reacting to things instead
Mhm.
of becoming mindful and making a good decision with what we do next.
Mhm.
So I feel like nature gives you that time and space, the
Mhm.
breath to really sit in the pocket and figure out what do I want? What's going to
Mhm.
happen from here?
Mhm.
Instead of just going, I've got to react to all this stress that's hitting me from every direction in the world.
Mhm, mhm. And I think too, it's finding a safe space to reset because even though we think about being in nature, we're limited of where that could be. It might be a park, but it's still
Right.
other people might be in that park, right? Or if it's a trail and you have to go to maybe a rural area, you're uncertain about your safety or what's that environment like? Are there people who look like me there? So if I'm hiking like deep into the woods, am I going to be okay? And so in this odd way, we need to reconnect with nature, but it can be hard to find the spaces to do that.
Right.
And I think that's kind of what you're doing here in Spanish Lake. It's
Yeah,
finding creating the safe space that's inviting people to
absolutely.
come to. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. And just having that space where you can say whatever's on your mind and there's going to be no judgments. You can process whatever's going on with you. Even if you want to go talk to the boulders by the pond or the goldfish, like they're not going to tell anybody, but it's one of those things where I feel like people need an outlet. And I'm also really passionate about getting kids to discover how much fun it is working outdoors, because one of my good friends, I'm going to go ahead and call you out. He's got a baby girl named Tori, and she is so adorable. And when she comes to hang out with Miss Janet, she plants all day long. And she's like, I want to plant more broccoli, Miss Janet. And I mean, we just have a blast. Kids miss getting
Mhm.
dirty, even if they don't know that they miss it. Like the way we're living now, where the kids can't have any of that. I grew up making mud patties, and my daddy would be like, another baby girl. Like I feel like that's going away. And so I want to bring that back because there's so much magic in nature for children. And so let's just get them out, let them play in the dirt. If they want to rip out some weeds because they're stressed or tense, I got a ton. So I think it's like a perfect fit.
Right. And you also, so I saw you have summer camps. Is that right? You're doing summer camp?
We're launching our first summer camp program this summer. We're going to do a 2-week trial, and we're just having 15 kids. It's going to be a farm to table summer camp. So not only are they going to work in the garden and harvest the food, but they're going to learn how to prepare the food. They'll learn all about animal husbandry. So they'll get to possibly milk a goat, depending on how well behaved they are. And we'll teach them about the chickens, the bees. They'll taste the honey that comes out of our hives. It's just going to be an amazing experience for youths age 9 to 16. And like I said, this is going to be our test run. And then we're also, well, I've got a meeting right after this actually with the principal of Larimore Elementary. So they want to get in some field trips, and it's just becoming more and more of a cool thing for them to bring the kids to. So
Oh, I love it. I love it. No, I mean, you've got your hands full. That's for certain. I think before we wrap things up, I did want to, when I was on your site and I was reading about, I know one of the things that's really important to you is creating food equity. And I mean, that could be a whole other show in and of itself, talking about sustainability and then talking about food equity. But is there anything on that topic that that you wanted to, in the short time we have left, but just to mention or to address as it relates to the mission of Rustic Roots Sanctuary?
Absolutely. I want to encourage everyone to shop local. If you've got someone that's farming in your community, go to them and get their food. I mean, I feel like we can feed our community. So that's why when I said food desert earlier, I put the quotes up there, because Spanish Lake is prime farmland. So to me, it makes no sense how we can have no grocery stores and all we have is convenience stores, dollar stores. I'm not going to name any of them by name. And then one grocery store left here. So to me, it doesn't make sense. Like, why are we nutritionally starving and our kids can't find anything good to eat when we live on prime farmland? I feel like the mission is to get every community to have their own community farm or garden that's sustainable so that people will have a fresh food source. We can do this. There are farmers in communities all over, and we just have to discover them and how we get their food. Just source their food, but shop local, go to farmers markets and support your local farmers. If you can get eggs, meat, poultry, whatever from a local farmer, chances are it's going to be so much better than what you can get at the grocery store after a week of traveling around the world to get delivered to that spot. Yeah, that's my tangent.
No,
that's started on that.
I was going to say, no, that was because I've had those conversations where you have that realization that like anything in a given week that you're putting into your mouth came from, just because population density and how the food industry works, it's like from a warehouse, or came from a plant or a factory or something like that. So it's what you're saying is so important. I think it's getting this information out, which is why I really appreciate your time today, because it's getting this information out, because I think there is the thought there is the desire to do better, to treat oneself better, to help the environment, all these things, but not necessarily knowing the access to do that and what the pathway to do that. And so I love everything about what you're doing out there. And I really, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate you too. And take care, eat healthy, and come out and get your chicken eggs.
Yeah. Right. That is a good note to end on. Before we go, we're going to put up the full screen graphic again for you. It's Rustic Roots Sanctuary. We've got the address there for you on the screen. To learn more information, head to rusticrootssanctuary.org. And again, Janett Lewis, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Day. You too. And thank you at home, and keep it right here on STL TV Experience St. Louis.